We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us, talking about economics, the workforce, what's happening here in the city of Nashville. Professor Ray over at TSU is in economics and finance, joining us this morning. All right, Professor, part of the issue here with regard to the workforce and getting back to the way things were, not everyone is going to go back to the office, are they? I mean, I think a lot of businesses have found that they can continue doing what they're doing even now, and doing it over Zoom, doing it over social networking, doing it over the computer. Is that going to change the way things are done in the big picture and the way people are hiring and where people can do the work from?
I think that is going to be a part of the equation for sure. And what we have learned over the last one plus year, that we can do many things very efficiently over internet. Not only we can work over internet, we can hold meetings, and in some cases hold conferences, even large conferences. So those kind of activities are also going to probably migrate to the online sphere a lot. But some jobs cannot be virtualized so easily. So for an example, yes, a software professional can be in another part of the country or maybe a different country and work on a project, but that's not going to be the case for someone like a plumber or someone who needs to work in the local hospitality industry. So yes, some jobs are going to be virtualized, interviews are going to take place online. So yes, those trends I do not expect those trends to go away anytime soon.
All right, and again, with the regard to the service industry and what we're seeing right now, at least in Nashville, just more of those jobs where you're working in restaurants or you're working with, those, the taverns or some of the various types of vehicles that shuttle people around the downtown area, those types of things. Are we going to see those jobs filling, or do we think it's going to be a while before those employees come back? I'm just wondering, because again, like I said, it's a concern for some of these employers right now. And if you walk around there, you see help wanted signs everywhere. What do you think?
I think some of those will be filled up. Those will be the transitory components, as there are several factors which are going to be in play. I think a large number of people are still concerned about going back to their jobs, and as those people come back in, we'll have the supply go up. Don't forget that we still do not have a good amount of vaccination. We need to get back to fully to normal. So I think the vaccination numbers, that is also a concern as most people get vaccinated, as the workplace starts getting safer and people are more comfortable getting out, those numbers are going to go out, the supply numbers. And as you have pointed out, that in some cases where people may be getting equal or more amount by not working because of the state and the federal component, as those additional payments are phased out, there could be some pressure on coming back to jobs. So, and people are going to move in from other parts of the country. We do know that cost of living is not exclusively a Middle Tennessee issue. From East Coast and West Coast, things are not getting any cheaper. So we have had people coming in from all parts of the country. So yes, I believe that some part of the demand-supply gap will be taken care by workers trying to take advantage of rising wages. But I'm not sure that you are going to see all the hiring signs vanishing overnight in next few weeks and we'll be back at normal. I do not anticipate that happening in that magical manner. It is probably going to be a slow filling up of the demand supply.
It may take some time, which I figured as much. Let's say you have a student in your class, Professor, who is saying, listen, you watch and follow the job market, Professor, tell me, what field should I focus on if I want to make a decent wage and live here in Middle Tennessee? I mean, what are the growth fields for jobs where there will be jobs available, okay, and jobs that will pay a decent wage? Where is that focus? What are the best job markets to focus on if you want to find work?
I think that is definitely the skilled profession. Anything that requires an additional amount of skill beyond what can be done by a relatively unskilled person. And let me tell you why that is the case. While we are talking about the labor market issue, we have to also consider another thing that is going on for a long period of time, over a decade, and I mean, since the last great recession of 2008, 2009, Federal Reserve has been doing an extensive bond buying, what we call an expansionary monetary policy. Now, how is that related to labor market? You must be wondering. There is a relation. What is happening that when the bond prices go up, the rate of interest comes down. And the rate of interest comes down, that actually helps the businesses to automate their workplace. They buy more machines, they buy more devices, they invest more in capital. And that is called a factor substitution effect. So some of the parts, so if you think about the manufacturing industry is not the same as it was like 50 years back. You will find many more robots on the factory floor. Mm-hmm. Same thing is happening for warehouses. The companies are investing heavily into robots and automation. Now, if you think about that transition, as the rate of interest goes down, and it has been virtually very close to zero for a long time now, after adjusting for inflation, of course. So that involves a great deal of expansion in the capital. So when you have a great deal of expansion in the capital, you have to think about what are the kind of workers who can handle those capital. Because not everybody can really work with a robot. Not everybody can work with an advanced computing system. Not everybody can work with all those automation things. So basically the average requirement for skill, different kind of knowledge, which is now needed in the modern workplace, where the workers can work with those modern machines, those advanced computing platforms, everything from payment processing to robots. I mean, those requires some significant amount of upskilling. So the jobs that are going to be needed, going to be opening up, and it has been the case for a long time now, are the high-skilled jobs. So for an example, I know people who are moving out from, even skilled jobs. Some of the PhDs who have been doing biomedical research, they are now retraining themselves, and they have in some cases successfully transitioned into fields like data science, which is in high demand. In some cases, they pay salaries which are significantly more, even to a postdoctoral job. So everything from data science to computing to STEM professions, those are going to be the jobs that require significant amount of skills. Those are going to be in high demand, and that's what I tell my students, that if you just go to any like standard job-related website, Glassdoor, Indeed, and things like that, and if you just find those jobs that are paying the highest amount, and then come back and see the demand and supply situation, you are always going to find a gap, more demand than supply. I mean, so that's what I tell my students, that while you are coming to college, focus on more skills like computing skills, math skills, STEM-like things, learned all those things. Those are the jobs which are 21st century jobs that are going to be in high demand. And that has been the case from well before the pandemic.
All right. Inversely speaking, what jobs that maybe we've become accustomed to, the ones you and I grew up being a part of, what jobs basically are going away? They're not gone yet, but maybe based on what we've gone through with the pandemic and now, of course, with Zoom and everything happening at home, what job markets do you think are basically going to die?
Well, that's a creative destruction that will depend on technology. Like, we don't have too many typists around, right? You and I might have grown up with lots of typists around. We don't see those jobs. Stenographers, we don't see those jobs, right? So that's the creative destruction that is happening. And don't forget some of the other technological shifts that are coming down. So for an example, in manufacturing, we have been seeing a continuous push towards, distributed manufacturing, 3D printing and whatnot, right? So those jobs are also going to be in high demand. So the current people who are in manufacturing, they will have to train for those additional jobs. Think about how we are doing agriculture these days. It is very, very capital intensive. And are we going to be needing drone pilots to take care of our agricultural fields? Now, drone pilots, if they can take care of our agricultural fields, they can also take care of the supply chain. Carrying goods from one place to another. So technology is going to determine what jobs are going to go away, and we are already seeing many of the jobs that have gone away from the 20th century. Now it is virtually impossible to find a job where you are not needing some kind of information technology. Right. I mean, we are not really using a handheld calculator anymore to do the checkout at the grocery line, right? We have very advanced, sophisticated computing. Now think about it this way. I mean, if we have a simple device in our pocket and we can scan all the items in our grocery basket, and once we get out of the store, and automatically our credit card is billed for that, do we need any grocery checkout counters? For an example, we already have the self-checkout counters. So we'll have to think creatively, because the world is changing very, very fast. And some of the things are not really our local issue. They are, global issues. And that is affecting all parts of the world. And sooner or later, we have to start thinking about resilience, because what this pandemic has taught us, that things can come to a rapid halt very fast, right? Because what we have seen in last February, March. And so companies are going to build in resilience in their system, and that would involve having redundancies. And it is difficult to have redundancies with labor, unfortunately. You can easily shut down and restart a machine very, very easily, right?
Professor, hang tight right there. Hold on right there. Stay there. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with our final segment right after this.